It's now my pleasure to welcome Bob Terpstra. Bob, come on up here. Bob is a Hudson, Wisconsin resident who has the determination to do the impossible. Let's hear it for Bob.
Wow, there's a lot of people out here. Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to take this time to do a short little exercise. I notice some of you are doing it right now. Could you fold your arms on your chest? Now I'd like you to crisscross them and do the other direction and try to get comfortable with it. Ha 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 ha. You had to think about that one, didn't you? Well, that's exactly what I have to do. You noticed how difficult it was, and that was my life. I was an avid sportsman with hunting and fishing. I loved to camp. I loved to have fun. I rode bike, and I did a lot of things with my family, such as cookouts and taking walks and playing ball, just having a good old time. I had an accident at Anderson Windows. Woo-hoo. And I tell you, 30 years ago, really changed my life. Nothing wrong with Andersons. They were great. They got me back to work and everything. I was driving a forklift and I needed to brake quickly. And in the process, I hit an I-beam. I broke my neck on a roll bar and then I fell to the ground. And with that, the forklift landed on top of me. I stopped breathing on the way to the hospital, and I needed to be put on life support in the ambulance. I had a crushed spine and many broken bones. I ended up living in Regions Hospital back in '87 for about 9 months. According to the docs, I would not walk out of that hospital. But my wife commented and said, "You don't know my husband." She was right. I did walk out, but with a lot of difficulty. I made a bet with a doctor, and he had ante up by buying a very expensive bottle of wine, which I shared with the whole staff, so everybody was happy. I had to learn how to redo everything. I have to thank Courage Golden Valley, who taught me how to drive in a new way. I had to laugh because they said I was the fastest learner. And the reason is because I drove a forklift. And when you got hand controls in a car, it's like being back at home. They also taught me how to be independent and learn how to drive and take showers and just do the good old stuff that I used to do without even thinking of it. Shortly after coming home, my wife passed away. She left me with 3 kids to raise as a single parent. I finished out at Anderson Windows for 34 years, but it was pretty cool. When I went back after my accident, Anderson's found me a job. And being a in-house rep, I enjoyed very much talking to people, enjoying time with just being on the phone. But now I'm retired. No stress. Wow. In 2013, I had the opportunity to go to Courage St. Croix. The purpose was to strengthen my muscles because I was fatiguing from all the health issues that I've had. As it is now and as it was back then, the family atmosphere is still the same. People say hi when you come in, and they call you by name. When you're going down the hallways, it's nice to be recognized, and even with a smile. I started back at Courage St. Croix in January of this year, mainly to gain strength back, and I started with a pool therapy with Kathy, one of my special gals that got me back to standing and walking, and later the FES bike. When Kathy introduced me to this bike, and I can thank Peter, I think he's in here somewhere, he kind of helped me get convinced too, but I was a little skeptical. She said, you're going to be connected to electrodes to be able to help your legs move. No pun intended, it was definitely electrifying. It brought tears to my eyes that after 30 years I could ride a bike again from my wheelchair. Being an avid biker and seeing that little bike on that screen is like I was free. I was able to kind of travel someplace where I never was or I haven't been in the last 30 years. Since the first of the year, I have lost 42 pounds. Much of it is owed to courage in keeping me mobile and exercising. Maybe you've been through something devastating or know someone who is suffering. It may seem as if life is over. I want to encourage you with the story of how amazing my life has turned out despite a horrible accident. I now reside in Hudson, as Chris had said, but I used to live in Baldwin, Wisconsin, where I built my own log home after all the children were out of the house. Everybody thought I was crazy, but it was the dream that I wanted to fulfill. I am remarried to a wonderful bride of 13 years who is here today, supporting me in everything I do. This next slide that you see is a little darling girl named May Lynn. She is the joy of my heart. We took in her teenage pregnant mom through a pro-life organization called Life Movement. They help pregnant women who are down on their luck but willing to save their baby. Long story short, we care for this darling 16-month-old baby just about every weekend. Talk about getting old fast. That girl can move. And I got an electric cart. In this next slide, I also manage a Nashville recording artist, Joe Loftus. He and Steve Rondo and I also sing at nursing homes 1 or 2 times a week. It's fun to see the smiles come upon faces that are so gloom. And those are the same smiles I see even at Courage. I was also am a Nashville recording artist. As of last November, I decided to record my own song. And you will see that I was attending a Nashville recording, or I should say a Nashville, lost my place here, a Nashville awards banquet. But doing so, after I had recorded my song, I released it to radio on the 15th of March of this year. I am also doing a lot of traveling with my bride, sometimes including 9 grandkids and their parents. We've been to all over many states, including Hawaii and Alaska. I was told that getting in an airplane for more than 8 hours was going to be devastating for me because of certain situations. They don't know me. Every time sometimes tries to pull you down, remember there's always a way to think around it. With the grace of God, He can change your perspective of life just by having an attitude adjustment. I want to thank you all for being here today as a step forward in helping out Courage Rehabilitation St. Croix. Thank you.
I think the thanks goes to Bob for that wonderful story. Bob, your persistence, your determination, amazing. And you're a rock star with songs on the radio. All right, we have another speaker coming up next here who's been connected with Courage Kenny for many years in many different ways. Please put your hands together for Brenda Crawford.
It's a cool thing when you get asked to speak on behalf of the Courage Kenny Center, and I want to tell you that it's a speech I've written 1,000,000 times to all of you and others that say thank you. But now I know I was meant to be here because I've driven my bus to all of Chris's schools in the rain, but I won't hold him responsible. I've actually met Bob, he probably doesn't remember, just a brief time ago. And when I saw him speaking, I thought, I know him. And then he started to talk, and I'm like, I really know him. So this is why we're all here, is to talk about Courage Kenny. Here's my stats. Brenda Crawford, 55. Born with cerebral palsy, married to a wonderful husband named Rick. I have 2 beautiful children, Megan and Seth. Megan's 19, Seth is 15. You'll see a second picture there. They're with my brother, Charlie. And I talked to him about him for just a brief second. If we go to the next slide. We're lifers to the Courage Center. Charlie is in the wheelchair there with the fish. I want you to take 1 second and notice his smile. And did you see the video with the kids on the horses and all that? That's Courage Kenny right there. It's the smile and the hope that you feel from the second you walk in to the second you leave. I've been with Courage Kenny since 2006 doing physical therapy, about the same time as Bob. I had to go back. Around 2013, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, which is chronic fatigue and widespread pain throughout your body on top of my cerebral palsy. And my doctor said, you should go back to Courage Center, use the pool, which I'd never done, and start physical therapy again. When you're a lifer to a physical disability, physical therapy is like saying, let's exercise. Oh, okay. I started physical therapy, and I too have a special place in my heart for Kathy. In the last 2 years, she's helped me become an athlete, something I thought I'd never be in my entire life. But as I became that athlete, strengthened my body, my pain went away, and my confidence in myself came up. My independence, my self-worth came back. I was the jock in the gym. But I'm the nice jock. Encouragement is my name. This allowed me to become stronger and we have more ability. I lost my job, something I'd done. I was a health caregiver for many, many years. And when you're disabled, sometimes finding a job is a difficult place to be. And so what do? You find the place that is the most desperate in the whole wide world. Driving a school bus. I went into the bus company and I started to fill out my application. All of a sudden, everybody started to get up to leave. I want to fill you in. If you work in a bus company, everybody from the janitor and the secretary on down know how to drive the bus. It was route time. Everybody started to leave as I was filling out my application, and I said, do I need a set of keys? They said, no, Mike is in the dispatch. He'll be fine. They got back and I handed my application in and stood up to walk down a hall. Now they saw me walking. The assistant manager looked at me and said, okay, have you ever driven anything big? Nope. My sister-in-law works here. She says you train people. Okay, so she's introduced me to my boss. She says, Tom, she's here. She wants to drive the big bus. Tom said, go big or go home. So I went through the DOT doctor, and lo and behold, he said no. I said, tell me what you need me to do to become a school bus driver. So he gave me a list of things to do. I went back, talked to Kathy. All right, what do I need? Here's what I need to do. Help me. Through classes, fibromyalgia class with Kevin, exercises with Kathy, to which I learned how to dance in a pool, something I've never been able to do well in my life. Walking with good balance built my strength up to the point where I could do burpees. And that's something, let me tell you. I met a friend in the pool. Her name was Nancy. Nancy, let me explain to you, is a 76-year-old woman. I was doing squats in the pool, squats, bridges, physical therapy, and heel cords, all things we hate. But we did it anyway. I walked over to Nancy and said, do you care if I do these with you? Because it's easier to do it with a friend. She said, sure. So we start. 1, 2, 3. Get up to 10. 10's all I've ever done. As I hit 10, I realized Nancy is not going to stop. And I am not going to be outdone by a 76-year-old woman. So here we go. Again. 1, 2, continue on. 10, we're still not done. Still not going to be outdone. We did 30 that day. I never did 10 squats again. I did 30. Nancy and I can now rock out 120. The first time we reached 120, Lamont came over and said, now do you want to do those or do you want to do them right? We started over and we did them right. Kathy taught me how to do exercises pretty so that I could build my strength and build my strength properly. Through doing this allows our bodies to learn. As Bob said, our bodies fatigue with age, and these exercises, through senses of humor and fun, build us so we can be stronger, so that at 54, I knew that I had to stand up straighter. I could feel that my natural stance was wrong, and I learned to stand better at 54 and stronger. Okay, back to the DOT doctor I go. I've lowered all my medicine he asked me. I'm stronger. He checks my balance and everything. He looks at me and I go, please, just give me the opportunity to drive the school bus. I promise you, if I can't do it, I'll be the first person to not do it. And if you could go to the next slide. I drive the school bus for a year. So, and I love it except on rainy, snowy, and icy days. So, Chris, if there's anything you can do about that, I'd appreciate it. My brother pushed me through all of this, too. He teased me a lot along the way. We're not getting any younger. And he continues to press on every day. I want to thank my parents who told us at a very young age that life wasn't going to be easy, but it sure could be fun. I cannot begin to thank all of the staff at the Courage Center who, as Bob said, from the minute you walk in the door to the minute you walk out, they almost all call you by name, and on a day when you're having the tears and a little bit of a fit, lay their hand on you and say, you're fine. The friends in the pool encourage you to move on. Nancy, I told you about, her son is waiting for a heart transplant at this very moment. He's on an A1 list. She comes to Courage Center every single day, along with a lot of us. You know you've made it when your name's on the list and they're going to call you when something happens and you can't come. Nancy comes in every day encouraging us all, but mostly she comes for her encouragement too. She may not exercise every single day to the fullest fitness, but she comes to check on us and have us check on her. And watch the children, because there's life there, and it's beautiful. I cannot thank you again for your contributions, because there's a wonderful thing, as you heard the young man say, to be respected and to have your self-confidence, to have abilities turn into possibilities. So if you think you can't do 10 squats, you can probably do 30. If you're ready to do a big change in your 50s, I'm all for it. I'm still going to do another change. Go big. Don't go home. Never give in and never give up. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. Such an inspiration. You and Bob have such wonderful stories.